Africa's visa map literally just changed overnight. Like, I cannot stress how big of a deal this is. You know, if you have been watching this channel, we started out talking about this 5 months ago with the 30 ambassadors being recalled from the continent of Africa. These are USA ambassadors, heads of those ambassadorships, those little heads of wherever they were on the continent. They went back to the United States. With that, 5 months later now, literally yesterday, like just in the last 24 to 48 hours, 30 U.S. embassies, entire embassies with consular services, have closed with very, very limited operations and absolutely no visa processing. Now, this is a historical change that we have never seen in our lifetimes. And I want to break it down in this video here with my husband. We are journeying with us. We have been on the continent of Africa for 6 years consecutively with our family of now 8. Our new baby girl is here. And we have invested in our businesses that we started back in America, transferred them to East Africa, and we're just having a global media channel, which is why you're here today. But we need to discuss this because this is insane. And one of the unseen implications is the fact that the entire Africa map has changed. This is also symbolizing the fact that America the Great, okay, everybody's favorite nation, the head honcho of the world, does not have enough resources to keep these things open. There used to be 50 U.S. embassies on the continent of Africa. Yeah. There are now 20, seemingly overnight. Those embassies, all their staff, everybody that was going to get visa processing to go to the U.S., all of that is finished now.
Yeah, things are changing fast. And I know you guys feel it. I know you guys feel what's coming to America. I know you guys feel what is coming outside of America too, because look, this is a big deal. I don't think people really understand how this is going to change a lot in different countries. So America is falling, as we keep saying. Babylon is falling, as you know. If you don't know, now you know, right? So when things like this happens, you got to think about what's a small country that does not have embassies in every country, right? This is where America is headed. Like, think about that. America is one of those countries that they're going to have embassies in every single country. But now they are
Not
telling us
anymore.
signs. They are telling you what's happening. So when these things happen in these countries, you got to start thinking about your finances too. Because if you go visit a country without a American embassy, right, a U.S. embassy, your finances might be tied up. Your debit card might not work. Your credit card might not work. So it really breaks down to a lot. So you really have to pay attention. Make sure you like this video. Leave your comments below and let us know how you feel about this. Is this a big deal to you? Is this a big deal for travelers, for people moving abroad? For us, we truly, truly believe it is.
It's a huge deal. And if you're asleep, then maybe it's not a big deal for you. But if you're someone who has eyes, then you can see clearly the Empire of America is collapsing. Of course, the erasure of these 30 embassies shows you economically, America is not the strong arm anymore. It used to be in the heydays of America. We knew, our parents knew, our grandparents knew, our great-great-parents, grandparents knew, everybody knew. If you are a U.S. citizen, you can go anywhere in the world. The U.S. passport is declining with a rapid force. Not only is the U.S. passport declining, but now Americans can't go to just any country anymore. We're basically like Portugal, okay? Portugal doesn't have embassies in every single country. They have a limited budget. They used to be a world superpower that colonized Southern America, Mozambique, a few places like Angola, but now they're not a true world superpower. They're limited to where their embassies can be, and America is the exact same way. But I want you to think about a teacher in Malawi that was planning to visit America and to get a teaching job, a business owner in Zambia, a student in Sierra Leone that wanted to study in Sierra Leone. Shout out to Sierra Leone. I am on my mother's side from the Timney people, okay? Had to put that plug in there. Go ahead, check out African Ancestry. They're going to tell you your tribe. But also a family in Lesotho that wants to travel to America and wants to live the American dream. Well, those doors are closed in all of those countries. So each of those families and people would need to go, if they're in West Africa, Ghana, Nigeria, Senegal. If they're in South Africa, if they're in Lesotho, they would have to go into South Africa to Johannesburg or to Cape Town. Okay. And so before you can even live out your American dream as an African that's traveling, well, there is no American dream to be had because the visa process is gone. Not only that, but you still have to pay that $15,000 bond before you can even
Crazy.
get in. So the application cost isn't just the cost anymore. The journey itself becomes the cost. And so you're going to see people either immigrating that are of a higher caliber, or immigration stops all the way for these
Mm,
African countries to America. Now, banking, as you were talking about, is quietly doing the same thing. We need to get into finances. We need to talk about what's happening also with Citibank, who just put out their stablecoin and said that crypto is going to be the new head honcho in America. But before we get into that, I have to tell you about the 5-in-1 stay of the diaspora. This is a urgent meeting where we are
yeah.
having this conversation, not just on YouTube. We are going to discuss the things that we cannot say on YouTube, things behind the scenes, because most people don't understand that we have a network of people. I mean, we know people in nearly every single country in Africa, or that have been to nearly every single country in Africa. Not only that, but people that have traveled to Thailand, Korea, people that have been in Australia, people that are in Belize, people that have been to Brazil, people that live in Mexico or have gotten rid of property in Mexico. We have a network
Mm,
that is so large that you really cannot even fathom it. And so we have those conversations that happen behind the scenes in the state of the diaspora. Now, we call it the 5-in-1 stay of the diaspora. It's $105 for your ticket, but we call it that because we cover the best 5 countries in Africa for you to move to. And we have had to update those countries because
hmm.
Madagascar made it to the list, but now we have to delete it from the list
Yeah, yeah. Things are
because there
changing.
is no U.S. embassy in Madagascar anymore. Grab the link in the description. Let's talk about these finances. Because if you've been following banking over the
Hmm.
last decade, you've seen this movie before: branch closures, bank closures, crypto quietly getting into your banks. Like, crypto is now a part of SoFi. Check out the link in the description. It's now a part of even PayPal. PayPal has a
Hmm.
USD stablecoin. Citibank has also just done an announcement about the same thing. You are seeing digital banking, reduced physical presence, centralized service hubs, and increased compliance requirements. So, major financial institutions have spent years moving customers away from local branches and towards the new 2030 digital ID era of banking.
Yeah, with banking, guys, like that is a deep conversation right there. Because I was just talking to someone the other day, and they were looking for banking outside of America. But when you do banking outside of America, and I'm not going to talk about it too much. Of course, there's things that you have to consider,
Mm,
but
yeah.
um, a lot of countries and a lot of bank accounts still use a SWIFT system. So if you know what that is, that's still going through like a U.S. type of fee and stuff like that. So you just got to really do your
U.S.
research.
infrastructure.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. The U.S. infrastructure, like to be honest. So you really got to do your research if you really want to be outside of America. And this is what we really talk about behind the scenes to let you guys in this or in on this information because this is important when you move abroad. Like you cannot move without having your finances in a straight line. You know, crossing your T's, dotting your I's, and stuff. So finances, man, it's changing super fast. But you got to move with the time and understand how to move your money around. That's very, very important.
Exactly. And we did leave some links in the description for international accounts, but you also need to know how to leverage them and use them because there's actually a whole
Yeah,
strategy and process behind which accounts work best for what. So you do want to get in the
yeah,
rooms, you do want to do one-on-ones, you do want to figure out your strategy. If your plan is to not be in limbo with your money frozen and then you're like, oh, what do I do? Then you're running to the US Embassy
yeah.
that may not even
Woo.
anymore be in the country that you're in because, again, Namibia and Botswana lost their U.S. embassies. They are closed as of June 1st.
That's
And y'all
wild.
know we are past June 1st. Sierra Leone, no more U.S.
Yeah,
embassy.
we definitely
So
gonna
if
keep
you
up with
thought you were
this for
getting
real.
citizenship in Sierra Leone, there are countries in Africa like Benin that offer citizenship, but they have no U.S. embassies. So
Yeah.
you're truly seeing you're going to have to pick one side. And if you let go of the American side, just know your children's children will not be able to benefit from some of those things that your ancestors worked for, some of those things that your ancestors went through. This is why it is paramount to be neutral. Now, we are not people that are like, oh, I'm Pan-African, oh, I'm FBA, we are not any of those labels. We are free thinkers under the grace, the power of the blood of Yahusha, under the Most High Yahuwah. Okay, that is who we are. That is what we do. So for us, it's not like, oh my gosh, I have to be somewhere and revoke my citizenship because oh my gosh, America, like that is not our thought process at all. And we know that's not your thought process either. That's just a very limited and foolish way of thinking that you may end up regretting if you have children or grandchildren, nieces, nephews. Like you have an entire lineage that you have to keep in mind.
Exactly. Yeah, we always say you got to know how to move around because this earth is the Most High's and it's yours. You can inherit this earth. So it is important to know how to move around. And you have to give Caesar what's due to Caesar and keep moving. You know, the Most High is always going to make sure that you're good no matter where you are. So this is why, you know, I know people will be like, oh, why you still depend on this? Why you? No, look, we depend on what the Most High is telling us right now. And this is what he's telling us to share with you guys how important this is, because this is going to change in the future.
Yeah, it's like asking Joseph when he was in Egypt, why would you depend on Egypt? It's like he was the head honcho in Egypt. The only one more powerful than him was Pharaoh. It's like asking Daniel when he was in captivity in Babylon, Daniel, ask him, oh, why are you depending on Babylon? Why are you here telling them, prophesying to them? Why are you even here? It's just a really foolish question, but let's move on. This is why Mauritius and other countries in Africa matter. Your Africa plans, your travel plans, even your Asia plans, because U.S. embassies in Asia are being closed down as well, are changing. You have limited access to the globe now. And it's not necessarily a horrible thing. It's just a more humble, it's a humility type of thing where it's like, okay, we're not a dominant U.S. superpower anymore. We are on alignment with maybe like European nations that used to be superpowers that are not anymore. The world is more like it's an even playing field. There's really not a true one world government. There can't be a one world government where you have the US losing access. I don't think it's going to actually be a one world government, to be quite honest with you. It's really going to be regions, city states, countries, and a conglomerate of countries like the Mascarene Islands, North Africa, Central America, South America, conglomerations of groups of peoples in these city groups that have different laws and different things going on of varying degrees. Okay. Now, some of your safe havens, Port Louis, Mauritius. Shout out to Mauritius. We love Mauritius. Okay. Nairobi, Kenya still has their embassy. Kigali, Rwanda still has their embassy. They have fabulous land out there. Johannesburg, South Africa. Cape Town, South Africa, both still have their embassies. Accra, Ghana, their embassy remains open. These locations are more strategically important for you if the proposal proceeds, okay? Now, are these simply embassy locations or are they becoming mobility corridors? That's the real question here. Like we said, they're thinking in regions, so you need to think in regions as well. You need to have a strategy. Have your global mobility strategy for the next 3 to 5 to 10 years that is focused on, okay, where can I get a 20-year residence? Where are the digital nomad visas effective? Is it a waste of time for me to go somewhere right now, like a Botswana that does not have an embassy and may not be guaranteed? Is it a waste of time for me to go somewhere like a Sierra Leone that doesn't have a U.S. embassy? So I'm not sure how their laws are going to work out with me trying to pass down assets, trying to get the rest of my family members here. Again, we're not thinking for 1-2 years. We think to the 10th generation. We think our children's children. We think, okay, my nieces and nephews, okay, how would they even be able to get residence? Okay, when their parents got residence and they were still here when they were 24, they would be a dependent. They can have their grandparents as a dependent if their grandparents are dependent on them. These are the thought processes that we have, and that's how we structure our curriculum in the state of the diaspora, in the mature adult intensive. And you'll see this throughout the channel, which is also why you should binge the channel, binge our live videos, binge all of our videos to really understand how you can maneuver throughout this earth, because it is not 2019 anymore. You are not in Kansas anymore, Dorothy, okay?
Yeah. No, look, she's great. This is why we say strategy is key. It kind of just reminds me of Joseph. He was the the strategist. This is why Pharaoh wanted him to be second in command, because he knew how to strategize. So
Hallelujah.
strategy is
Glory.
very, very, very much important,
Glory.
especially in the times that we are in. Everything that we're talking about right now, you really got to know these embassies. You really got to know the regions that we kind of broke down. You really got to know the countries. So every country and city that we mentioned, we're not saying these are going to be the best ones. We're just talking about
You
U.S.
have
embassies.
access.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
have access.
There's
So you got to
optionality.
understand which flights go there if you need to do something like that, right?
Fly
So
out.
it's strategy. Strategy is key. You got to be strategic in these last days.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you said that. That's really good because that even goes, we cover this in the state of
That's what I'm
diaspora. This
saying.
is so
Yeah,
much.
it's a lot.
There's so many levels that we break down, but we
Yeah.
also break down flight access by region, because if you are not a traveler in Africa, you may not be aware you're not about to fly from Sierra Leone to Nigeria for a cheap amount of money, but you can go from South Africa to Mauritius for like probably $1,000 less. Okay. So this is what we're talking about. These are the logistics that you have to understand behind the scenes. Now, we broke this down into a few categories. I want you to think of students, business owners, families, investors, and retirees, because we need to talk about how this affects each and every single one of those groups. Okay. So for business owners in the countries that no longer have a U.S. embassy, okay, remember Sierra Leone, Benin, who else was on there? Mozambique, Namibia, Botswana, Zambia, who else was on there? Egypt, their embassy is closing. All of these countries have embassies that are closing down. So business in these countries looks like conferences being declined, right? When you go to a conference in these countries, or they want to go to a conference in America, well, they're not really going to have the visa to do it. Okay, sorry. Cross-border meetings are going to become harder, especially in Northern Africa. Northern Africa was hit very, very roughly by this new change. Most of North Africa can no longer go to the US because they have no US embassies in North Africa at this rate. Okay, they just don't have them at all. And then startup founders are going to face higher friction, especially if they wanted to get funding in the States. They want to do this in America. Or if you wanted to start a business that was in somewhere like Egypt, those processes are going to look much different. Students are going to have more travel costs, obviously, more uncertainty and longer wait time. So if a student from, let's say, Mozambique wanted to study in America and they're like, I just want to go to school at, whatever university they thought was going to be cool. Maybe they want to go to Columbus, Ohio or Memphis, Tennessee, wherever. Well, they're not going to be able to do that as easily. They're going to have to fly down to Johannesburg or to Cape Town to go ahead and try to process that visa and get an interview. Also realize when they're doing these interviews, even if the embassy's open, if you are from these countries that are essentially banned, for lack of a better term, they're going to be scrutinizing you even harder. They're going to be looking at you and saying, you're from Mozambique. We don't really want those people to be in America, so we're actually going to decline this. And they would have already paid their hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of visa fees. But as an American, as a Westerner, there are countries that are neutral with your home country. Go to those neutral countries so you are not affected in that same way.
Yeah, so take it from us, guys. If you are African trying to go to America, it's not worth it.
It's not worth it.
It's not worth it.
Not at this. It wasn't worth it before, but it's definitely like, just stay home. Or if you don't want to stay home, go to Mauritius, go to Seychelles, go to Ethiopia, go to South. Maybe not South Africa. Never mind. Don't go to South Africa. Sorry. Go to Mauritius. Go to Rwanda. Go to Accra, Ghana. Right. Go to Senegal, Dakar, Senegal, because that's a whole nother topic, y'all. We're gonna have to cover that at another date. Okay, it's too much going on the continent. But go to places that are neutral and welcoming and have an international presence. They have an international presence because they care about people. Because here's the thing: you can't have an international presence and not care about humans. Those two things are not synonymous. They do not go hand in hand. And so you're seeing the continent of Africa that's basically being split up, for lack of a better term, into safe havens and non-safe havens, into anarchy and lawlessness and laws and actual functionality and anti-corruption. Of course, you want to be somewhere that has laws and functionality and respects humans on every level. Doesn't matter if they're red, orange, pink, white, green, blue, super dark, super light, none of that matters. You want to be somewhere that handles humans righteously and in accordance with the Torah. They treat everybody the same way. And it's not this xenophobia. It's not we gonna knock you out and throw you out because you Ghanaian, you're not. Nobody got time for that, okay? And by the way, if y'all didn't know, Malawi is also the second country to withdraw their citizens from South Africa due to xenophobia. Ghana was the first. So things are heating up with that. But lastly, we need to talk about families and investors because for family, the reunification becomes more expensive, okay? Families that were from Sierra Leone, that were from Egypt, that now have part of their family in America or part of them wanted to go, that is shut down. That is no longer a thing. This is why family reunification, this is a term you should also look for as an expat because none other than the island of Mauritius actually promotes family reunification. And the actual action that makes that possible is the fact that if you are on a 10-year residence permit, retirement, self-employed entrepreneur, investor, you can have your dependent grandparent that you are taking care of be a dependent under you. You see this? This is what family reunification means logistically. And then lastly, investors, because the value of residency options are going to increase. The value of second passports are going to increase. The value of being near major transport and diplomatic hubs is going to increase. Hello, Tonga, Tanzania is a huge port. Their U.S. embassy in Tanzania is still open. Port Louis, Mauritius is coming out also to be another huge port. Mombasa, Kenya. Is that a port or is it? No, it's Mombasa. Mombasa, also a huge port. You want access and optionality to areas where you can trade with China. You can trade with Dubai. You can trade with somebody in the Mediterranean. You can trade with people in Australia easier than being somewhere like the Congo. But the Congo's embassy is still open as well, so that's good. But let's close this out because at the end of the day, the story isn't that embassies are disappearing. The story is that access is centralized, okay? Your optionality is centralized to a couple of regions, whether it's banking, immigration, travel, vacation, or identity verification for your bank. The world is increasingly rewarding people who are positioned and prepared near the proper infrastructure. The question is not if the map is changing, the question is whether you're still using the old one. That fits perfectly with what we talk about here on this channel. Visa access is being changed. Your Africa map is changing, and the real question is, where do you still have access? And are you going to get that access and optionality before it's too late?
Yeah, you got to prepare now. You got to prepare now. If you are thinking about traveling, if you are thinking about moving outside of America, I hope you are, please, because things are heating up. Things are going to be shutting down. So just make sure that you are prepared. Make sure you just think long term, 5, 10, 20 years, because the people that is controlling a lot of things, this is how they think also. So you might as well start thinking the same way. You got to play chess. And if you do not know how to play chess, I would teach you. You want to learn?
Sure.
Yeah, but guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this information.
It's difficult, y'all. Okay.
Make sure you like the video, leave your comments below, share this with someone that you believe could help and could bring value to. And yeah, I believe that's it. And we'll talk to you in the next one. Shalom.
Shalom.